We are going to begin with a very essential idea to understanding this whole concept. That is, that personal power is not anything you need, master, as if it is something you do not now have. Rather, it is something you already possess. In that case then, instead of looking at it as mastering something you do not have, look at it like remembering how to use something which you already have. Each and every one of you, being sparks of creation, are 100% masters. You all know what it is like to exist. You all know how to manipulate energy. You all know how to live to the fullest extent of what you are capable of. This is something you needn't learn. However, here comes the challenge. Those of you who choose to incarnate in physical reality, especially on a planet such as your Earth, have a bit of a challenge. Part of the reason this Earth plane was set up was for a learning school. Because it is a learning school, obviously there must be challenges. Recognize these challenges are put in place for all of you to exercise your spiritual muscles, shall we say, for all of you to be all that you can be, and for each and every one of you to learn what there is to learn and to progress yourself and to grow and to be of service to others. When you incarnate into this plane, there are a set of rules that you, by your agreement to incarnate, must follow. Some of those rules are quite obvious. One is that you will adhere to the laws of time and space. That is a fairly simple one. You all have that one down quite well. Another is that thought will take time to manifest reality. And another is that you will have a challenge of illusion that will be the greatest challenge that exists for you. As you recognize illusion for what it is, illusion and not reality, you then begin to remember the mastery that you have from the other realms. You cannot master personal power in physical reality while maintaining the idea of illusion. That is the challenge. For many of you do not know, really, what illusion is and why it is there and how you can see beyond it. Assuming then that you are already masters, how do you reawaken that mastery into your physical lives here on Earth? How do you see beyond the illusion? The easiest place to start is with whatever obstacles you see in your life. If you look at the idea of your spiritual mastery, your personal power, as being channeled through to you from a funnel, the obstacles are those things that clog the funnel. Once that funnel is clogged for any period of time, you forget that the funnel is there. You forget that that personal power energy is always channeling through. Therefore, those obstacles take on the form of illusion. They are confusing for you. They are like mirrors, placed askew in many different directions, confusing you and directing you, and using reflections rather than reality until you are looking in any direction except the direction of the funnel, the direction of your personal power. Recognize that when you come into physical reality, there is a structure, a portion of your consciousness, which is a facilitator for your lives here in physical reality. You call that portion of you ego. Now the ego is a neutral thing. It doesn't have to be a positive or negative thing. It is a neutral idea. It is a regulator. It is a facilitator. However, when too much power is given to that ego, that is when the ego becomes imbalanced. That's when illusion begins to form. That's when many of you have called the negative ego comes into play. Somewhere in the development of the ego, for many of you, not for all of you, when you've been faced with challenges which were meant to strengthen you, they were misconstrued into being fears that threaten you. And the first time that happened in your life is when the obstacles begin an illusion, begins being formed. Prior to that time, you as souls incarnate on Earth are in your mastery. Now one may say, well, how can a little child be in their mastery? Recognize that if we are talking about infants, they do not have the motor skills to move their body in order to manipulate reality. This does not mean they are not masters. It simply means they are not yet developed in their motor skills. But the soul energy at that time that is being expressed onto the physical plane is entirely connected with that personal power. It is only when the ego is allowed to begin protecting you from your fear rather than guiding you to confront your fear. It is only until that point that mastery ends, so to speak, an illusion begins. Now we are talking about a period of time very, very early in your development as a human. It can happen literally from the first few months of life. Or, the ego creation of illusion to protect you from your fears may not happen until after several years of life. It is really different for each person. However, that is the point that you can trace back where the ego has begun building illusion and facade to protect you from perceived threats. It is at that point where the mastery of the personal power begins to take a back seat and survival begins to take a front seat. This does not have to occur this way. It has simply been a good way of coping for thousands of years. You then taught your children, and your children taught their children, etc., until you've forgotten that each soul comes in as masters. If you could remember that, if you could begin teaching your children that and truly believing it, not pretending to believe it, you will find that your attainment of personal power would be more rapid, more complete, more easy, and with a lot less struggle. We are going to give you an analogy here, given to us by a good friend, that can demonstrate how the ego works to keep you from claiming your personal power. Here is the analogy. Let us say that you have a mother and a daughter. The daughter decides that she would feel more comfortable with a gun in the house because there have been break-ins in the neighborhood. So she goes out and buys herself a fancy little pistol. She is very impressed with the beautiful handiwork of the pistol. She comes home and she is very proud. At this point, she has not really put the bullets in yet. So she has not felt the power that she has in her head. But she is toying with the idea. She has the bullets in a little box and they are in the bag with a gun. So she comes home. Her mother is there and she says, "Mother, look. I bought this gun so that we will feel safe and so we can protect ourselves." The mother looks at the gun with wide eyes and then looks back at the daughter and says, "Are you sure that you can handle that? Are you sure that you know how to shoot? Are you sure that you are not going to accidentally kill someone with that?" Suddenly, the daughter's reality begins to shift. She starts questioning her own power. She starts questioning whether she really can handle that gun. And right then and there she certainly decides that she is not putting any bullets in it. So she keeps this gun around for a few days without the bullets in it. Every once in a while she picks it up and she plays with it. But there is a little bit of a sick feeling in the solar plexus. There is a little voice that says, "Are you sure that this was the right decision?" One day, she goes into the kitchen and her mother is standing there. She says, "Mother, I know that you took shooting classes when you were young, and I know that you feel comfortable around a gun. So I would like to give you this gun and I would like you to use this gun if we ever have an intruder. I would like you to use this gun because I don't feel that I really have the knowledge it takes, nor the confidence it takes to carry this weapon." So the mother takes the gun, puts the bullets in it, and puts it in the drawer. For a few days, the daughter feels quite secure. But then every once in a while she keeps eyeing that drawer, knowing what is in that drawer, knowing that the GUN is there, this power that is now out of her head, because she is too afraid to use it. Day after day, she checks on that gun to make sure it is still there. One day, it is not in the drawer. In that day, she begins to be worried. She begins to harbor fantasies that her mother has taken the gun and has hidden it so that if she ever needs it, she won't be able to find it. Therefore, the symbol of power that she has chosen has been given away and is now hidden, and she doesn't know where to find it. You can see that there are a lot of different endings to this story, if one could say there ever is an ending. However, as long as the daughter worries about the mother's motivation with her symbol of power, as long as the daughter does not ask for the gun back, she will leave her security, her confidence, and her personal power in the hands of another. As each and every one of you are growing up, especially women and little girls, you are taught that power is a dangerous